She-Hulk. Going into this series, I'm not super excited, but I feel it has potential. After Miss Marvel ended, since there were no Marvel Wednesdays, I forgot that She-Hulk was coming this week and didn't realize it until this episode dropped. With that approach, let's begin. The opening Marvel Studio clip is the same. There's not much difference, although I did notice Jane Foster Thor in it, so perhaps she does have a larger role to play in Marvel Studios moving forward. Although this is sufficient, I like it when the showrunners put creativity and make the opening logo look different with a different music to set the tone of the series or the episode. But considering the amount of VFX it would require to have She-Hulk and Hulk in the series, I think so it's okay that they didn't put effort into stylizing Marvel Studios. The opening scene itself is Jennifer Walters preparing the closing statement for a case, and then she breaks the fourth wall. I completely agree with what she says. Until the word Hulk out came, I really didn't care about the lawyer talk. Hopefully this attitude changes in future and the lawyer side of the story is as compelling as the superhero story. Now she breaks the fourth wall and we know that she's already She-Hulk. Why does she do it? How does she do it? I believe the showrunner said that there is a reason for it, but we don't know it yet. Although I do have a theory that it is because of an accident where she becomes aware of the presence of the Watcher, but that's a different thing. Let's continue. Next, we witness the accident that turns Jennifer Walters into She-Hulk. It's nice to see Bruce Banner just hanging out, having a life outside being part of the Avengers. This one scene brings closure to all the confusion. How is Bruce Banner in his normal form in Shang-Chi post-credit scene, when he spent all of his time as Professor Hulk in Endgame, indicating that he cannot simply change to human form. Although we understand that this is necessary for the She-Hulk to happen because the Hulk doesn't bleed. This also shows us how Hulk, Bruce Banner, can die. With the device on him, if he shoots a bullet in his mouth, he won't survive. The Captain America virginity talk is just casual for comedy perhaps, but it could be a setup for the future to indicate that Captain America, Steve Rogers, went back in time and had children with Peggy Carter who might be introduced in future. In the scene when she transforms into She-Hulk, she transforms into something that is more human and less monstrous. Could it be that this creative decision was taken so as to avoid the clothes situation that happens with Hulk every time he grows in size? One tiny contradictory detail I noticed when Jennifer Walters goes to the sports bar is one of the women doing the makeup says that this is public bathroom, but on the main door it says no public restrooms. Are restrooms and bathrooms different, or is this printed message just so that the people stopping don't stop just to use the washroom? The Jennifer Walters blacks out every time she turns into She-Hulk. It's a nice reminder to Moon Knight, one of my favorite series of MCU. Did you notice when Bruce Banner takes Jennifer Walters to the island, all the furniture and the house is bigger to accommodate the Hulk size? This just indicates that they had to build all of this and didn't use a cheap way out by just saying that Bruce Banner turns human form when he returns home. The broken Iron Man helmet that Jen sees is golden and black. When did Iron Man use these combinations, or is this some other mission that we didn't see on screen? I like the fact that the cause for accident is a Segarra spaceship, not to Hulk's past in Thor Ragnarok. This is perhaps to tell us that Grandmaster wants his champion back. More important question, will we see this story continue sometime in future, in this show or elsewhere? The way She-Hulk transforms, it shows a scary possibility that is it that easy to transform someone into a Hulk? Just give him or her the blood of the existing Hulk. But then they clarify in the lab that they both have a rare combination of genetic factors. In other words, they have a mutation. It's just my theory that characters like Bruce Banner, Jennifer Walters, Carol Danvers, Miss Marvel and Monica Rambeau all come in the category of mutants, although the word was not used before. Okay, so how was Jennifer Walters able to heal Bruce's arm? You see, all our human bodies are walking science labs that work non-stop round the clock to find solution to the problems like diseases we come across. So it needs to be understood that different bodies are different because of the experience. So it is very much possible that cure for one person's illness lies in the body of another person. This strange superiority could be the first hint to why Jennifer Walters can break the fourth wall. In the following scene, Bruce Banner tells that Jennifer Walters to get control of her She-Hulk ability. Hopefully it will be shorter than what took Bruce Banner. He says 15 years is a neat way to show her that since Bruce Banner became Hulk in 2008 or 9, it took 10 years till Infinity War and then 5 years time jump. So 15 years till he became the Professor Hulk or Smart Hulk, which is what he prefers. We also learned that in addition to Star Wars, Pixar is also something that exists in the MCU. Although I did hope that they would be real people in the MCU. Next, Bruce Banner tests the anger of Jennifer by trying to kill her using the blades, which has clear marks of Stark Industries. When Bruce learns that his sister has no alter ego, that is, no Hulk side, he's surprised. There could be two possibilities for that. One is because I think I have a theory that Bruce Banner, just like Mark Spector of Moon Knight, had dissociative identity disorder which led him to transform into the Hulk that saved his life during the Gamma experiment that should have killed him. Another theory could be what I said before, that Bruce's body was slowly processing the information and the DNA structure it developed over 15 years made it possible that now if the blood goes into some other person, they transform into Smart Hulk immediately. So Jennifer Walters is not superior in becoming She-Hulk. This also has a narrative advantage so that she does not go through the same story arc as Bruce Banner did and avoid it being repetitive. Hulk turning back to Bruce Banner gives out two references, that is, falling out of a jet, which was helicarrier in the Avengers, and being knocked out by a robot, which was the scene with Hulkbuster in Age of Ultron. And of course the lullaby. It's interesting that he used the name Natasha but was not emotionally moved by it like Clint Barton in the Hawkeye series. In this episode, we see that Bruce Banner wants to show his cousin everything she needs to know to be a Hulk. It's clear that it's less about him wanting to avoid disastrous situations and more about wanting to spend time with someone who shares the same experience of what it means to be the Hulk. This is further highlighted when we see a friendly cousin rivalry when they train on the island. Next we see Bruce teaching Jennifer the advantages of being Hulk over alcohol. This is interesting because a similar thing happens with Captain America in the first movie where he cannot get drunk because of high metabolism. This makes sense because the Gamma experiment was to revive the super soldier program that was stalled after the birth of Captain America, which now feels inconsistent because after watching Falcon and the Winter Soldier, we know that there have been more super soldiers other than Steve Rogers. In the meditation scenes, being an Indian, I feel a little bit, I shouldn't say offended, but it feels odd because they use the word yoga and they are copying techniques from it, but when it comes to meditation, the right word to use is Om, and instead he just hums. This feels disrespectful to the source, but do whatever you want. In that scene, Jen stresses on the fact that she has a career that she built over many years. Correct me if I am wrong, but this is one of the few instances in the MCU where we feel that the heroes are actually working to earn money and not just have infinite supply of resources whenever they want. In the next scene, we see Jennifer Walters wanting to return to her old life when we learn that Bruce Banner actually has a family that we have not seen yet. He just stays in isolation because he feels that he is a threat to the world. This is why becoming the Smart Hulk was important to him. Even though in this form he is less powerful, At least he is not a threat to his own people. Then why is he still staying in isolation? Perhaps because all his friends, the Avengers, are either dead or gone their separate ways. Even when she tries to leave, Hulk calls for another fight, and that's when he does this Sonicboom move by clapping. It's similar to the device that was used by the government officials to neutralize Hulk in the movie The Incredible Hulk, which we saw again in What If series and the latest in Miss Marvel. In the fight, She-Hulk uses this unique roar where she feels less human. Is it possible that she might go out of control, and this is what we might see in the future of She-Hulk when she meets more challenging foes? Another time, when we see her break the fourth wall, it seems that she herself is surprised that she did it, because perhaps she did it the first time in that scene when they were fixing the bar. My question here is, what more is she capable of? Once you realize that you're in a fictional world, you must be having a power to control literally everything. So, can she pause time? Or just travel to a place at will? Let's see if this ability of hers is further explored in future episodes, or in her future appearances. Returning back to present, Jennifer Walters, talking to the camera, says that this is a lawyer show. It means that she will direct our attention to what she wants us to see, like the actors who also work as directors. The case that we see in this episode, we don't know anything about it, and yet that is the closing of the episode. Perhaps it serves as a longer explanation for the lesson she must learn as a superhero, that is, with great power must come great responsibility. This is followed by a random attack by a superpowered woman who dresses like she's going to a party. Now, what's her motivation to attack a court? Who attacks a court? I don't know. Hopefully we'll get context about it in the future. Right now it's just to show that she will have to embrace her She-Hulk side and can no longer hide it from the public. She-Hulk very easily incapacitates her enemy, means that she's not the main villain, at least not at this power level. This is followed by a funny close-up of her high heels, just to indicate that she no longer needs those shoes to increase her height. This is where the episode ends. I must say I like the credits. The images are like the concept art that was supposed to be full-fledged scenes but then got approved. So these images fill in the narrative gap. I just hope they are different for different episodes. The post-credit scene of the extended talk about Steve Rogers' virginity is the funniest moment of the episode, especially how it ends. Hope they continue this trend in future episodes as well. The interesting thing about the topic of choice is perhaps to indicate that Jennifer Walters had a crush on Steve Rogers and perhaps asked Bruce several times to make the meeting happen. But Bruce didn't allow it because he knows how weird his cousin is regarding the choice of topics of discussion. One interesting thing that I forgot to mention earlier is that Bruce says that he spent time on this island during the blip, during the 5-year time jump. Perhaps that's an indication that Jennifer got dusted when Thanos snapped his fingers. This is further highlighted when Jennifer Walters rants about Bruce's decade-long trauma. The thing to note here is that she says decade and not 15 years, which is actually how long it has been. Jennifer Walters being dusted, I don't think it's relevant anymore. Still, it's good to know. Another thing I realized watching this episode is that Bruce Banner is perhaps the only character who was good with both Tony Stark and Steve Rogers. So had he not landed in some alien planet, the events of Civil War would not have happened. It's nice to think that Bruce Banner is more relevant than he is portrayed to be in the MCU. To summarize my thoughts on this, I think I liked the episode. It's charming. It didn't have the wow factor, but then it's just the first half-hour episode of a 9-episode long series. I have a feeling that we won't see Bruce Banner ahead in this series, not until the very end, and every episode will be dedicated to a new guest appearing character like Wong in one episode, Daredevil in another. And I still have fingers crossed for Happy Hogan appearing in one of the episodes. So that's it from my side about She-Hulk episode 1. See you in the next episode. Thank you.